Okay, so now let's talk about the fourth fundamental of flow, and that is the 4% challenge. So a guy by the name of Kotler, who's been doing a lot of extensive research in regards to flow, is the one who came up with the concept of 4%. And basically what he suggests is that flow occurs when the challenge of an activity that you're partaking in is 4% greater than your current skill level. The idea is we want to progress gradually and make small incremental changes over time in order to improve our skill. Now, the operative word here is progress, which brings us to the concept of progressive overload, which is defined as increasing the demands of your muscles gradually to make them bigger and stronger in a safe and progressive way. Okay, so an example of this would be, let's say that you can barely bench 135 pounds 10 times. 10 times is pretty much your max, but you obviously want to get stronger and be able to lift a lot more. Progressive overload would involve increasing the weight week to week by about 5, maybe even 10 pounds. And this would be a result of increasing by 4%. It's a progressive and safe way for you to get stronger over time. However, if you decide to let your ego take over and be a hero and load the bar with an excessive amount of weight, like stupid amounts of weight that we often see in a lot of those gym fail videos, and you go beyond that 4% limit, well, that overconfidence could lead to you being decapitated. And then there's a subjective way in which you can measure your 4% capacity, and this is by using the RPE scale, otherwise known as the rate of perceived exertion. So the rate of perceived exertion is commonly used for training to gauge your level of intensity based on how you're feeling. In order to find flow within your training, you want to make sure that you're at a 6 or 7 on the scale. And of course, this is going to be subjective to everyone. 10 would be max effort. You can't sustain this effort for very long, and you obviously require a lot more rest in between. And this is a good protocol to use every now and then if you're trying to get into flow, especially when utilizing it with your movement practice. Now, I'm not saying that you should never be at a 10, but realistically, you can't train at a 10 every single day. Like, you just can't. It's impossible to train at your max capacity every single day. Even if you're training at a 10 or close to a 10 on a frequent basis, that's eventually going to catch up with you. Sadly, bodybuilder Ronnie Coleman learned this the hard way, and dude could hardly walk now. Another subjective measurement for flow that relates more to cognitive work is the rate of perceived arousal. Now, this is not the actual term for it, but this chart is from the book Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and it's used to gauge autonomic arousal. Now, depending on the activity, we want to be anywhere on the right side of that chart, either relaxed, in control, or in a state of flow. When I was learning how to play the drums, I used this chart religiously, and I paid close attention to where my arousal level was on the chart. This ensured that I wouldn't get too frustrated to the point where I'd want to quit before achieving my goal. And this raises an interesting question. What is it that makes us quit?